They like the Booker kid. They like the kid from North Dakota State who showed well. The kid from Mizzou who now I think is probably – we are seeing guards that potentially may go up higher than we've ever seen before on the draft board. You didn't used to see – I think there might be like 3 to 4 interior offensive linemen that may go in the first round. That's a bit of a shift from –
I think it's
but it goes to what you've been saying, right?
If you can't protect interior-wise, man, your quarterback has nowhere to escape to.
Yeah, and I see it, Sean G on YouTube and Twitch. Shout out saying, hey, I'm hopeful for a veteran center and guard can come in via free agency.
Come on, man.
Hey, hopeful is a good word for me. My expectation is just at least one. But let's just kick this off here. All right, those of you on the Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line, 713-572-4610. Sean and Rob and DQ, the Red Key, Don and Toby and all of you that roll through here. You can jump in on this conversation as well on YouTube and Twitch. The offensive line is it, and I can completely understand why the conversation is in the draft. And I've been thinking about this a bit, and we have not had this conversation quite yet, at least deeper, Clint. As we look at this thing, for you right now, knowing what the issues are, knowing that you've got a new offensive coordinator, knowing what this team is going to be, we know the offensive line has to have some change. More than just the quarterback, I would assume, has to have some change. Is Tytus Howard moving to left guard filling in one of the issues, and that's what he did the second half of the season, but if he exclusively moved to left guard, is that an acceptable fix for you with this offensive line? And I'm saying that in terms of Tunzel, him on the left side, I'm guessing Patterson in the middle, and then a new guard, whether that comes into the draft as we discussed, or hopefully, in my opinion, via free agency, and then you slide in Fisher to right tackle like it was at the end of the year. Is Tytus Howard moving to left guard an acceptable fix for you with this team?
I think it's an acceptable part of the fix. Yeah, I don't think you can do that and move forward with Juice Scruggs and Patterson and Fisher and go, hey, man, we got this thing figured out. No, I don't like that. Look, I've always been higher on Tytus Howard at guard than most folks, and I understand it hadn't always been pretty. It's been downright ugly at times. But his value and why I'm okay with the Texans paying him as much as they paid him is because he can play tackle and guard. Truth is we've seen him bounce around so damn much, Ron. I don't know how good or bad he would be at one or the other if they gave him a training camp at that position and said that no matter what happens, this is where we're going to play you. I don't know how good or bad.
Each time he was switched over to guard, it was mid-season.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just guard tackle. It's right tackle, left guard. I mean, it's other hand in the dirt. It's other kick step. You know, it's just a different animal. So, I am not opposed to that being part of the fix. No, I'm not opposed to that being a plan moving forward. Is Fisher at tackle and Tytus Howard at guard? Not opposed to that one bit. But what you can't have, you absolutely cannot have Jared Patterson, Juice Scruggs, Blake Fisher. That can't be the center guard tackle on the right side of your offensive line. To me, ideal is if you got Juice Scruggs and Jarrett Patterson. Let's say ideal. Let's say this is unacceptable. Tytus Howard at guard, Juice and Jarrett Patterson battling out for the center position, and then you sign a hammer at right guard. I could get down with that. Now we got to get into the conversation about what the backups look like. What do your backup guards look like? They can't be Kenyon Green. What does your backup guards look like? But yeah, I could get with Tytus Howard, a center competition with Juice Scruggs and Jarrett Patterson, and then sign another guard. I could get down with that.
So that would be acceptable for you. Sean G says, for me, that's more of a Band-Aid than a fix.
It has been. That's for damn sure. It has been.
I think there's some fairness to you because listen, you know how I feel about Tytus at guard.
Mm-hmm.
I have not ever loved it. I was drugged by how bad the guard play was this year to make me even bring up the thought of, hey, man, like it's so bad you can't put Kenyon back in there. At the time, I think Patterson was hurt, and it was Kendrick Green, and it was other things, and it was like, and I think this is the route. But for me, my thought process is now that you have the season and you have resources, that you have money where you could spend, like my thought would be the avoidance of putting him at guard. I just think, like, right now, if I said to you, Tyler, who do you feel more comfortable at, and maybe this might answer it, who do you feel, Tyler, more comfortable at right tackle, Tytus Howard or Blake Fisher?
Right tackle?
Right, if you had to start the season, right tackle, Tytus Howard or Blake Fisher?
I mean, to me, that's a toss-up right now for me. So maybe I don't have your answer.
That's bad. Like I'd
go Tytus.
Yeah, I would say Tytus.
I don't know how to feel about Tytus, man.
I'll be honest with you, for what Tytus is getting paid, it's probably too close between him and Fisher.
Second highest paid, right?
Yeah, behind Tons was probably too close, but it's still, I'm with you, Clint. I would feel better about him at right tackle. Yeah. I think he's a better run blocker at right tackle, and I think he's a better pass protector at right tackle. Hence why we didn't really didn't shoot the notion down when they decided to take care of it. And that's why, to me, I feel better with him at right tackle than Blake Fisher there. And my thought is, you have the opportunity to go get something. Hell, I'd been all right, Clint. The right tackle or the left, whichever way, was, as you said, a hammer somewhere in free agency. And you said, I'm going to draft and I'm going to put somebody in free agency. Somewhere there has to be a proven guy who has had success in the league, to me, because you have the ability to go do that. Like you have the ability to go do that, and it's a guard, and it's not like you got to pay crazy amount to go get a guard.
And what you do with Tytus Howard and what you do with Blake Fisher should have no bearing on what you do in relation to going and getting that hammer that we're talking about at guard. Like it shouldn't. I mean, like you go get one of the guards taken care of with a proven pelts on the wall. Just a guy that is has the film, has the mentality, wants to be here. Plug him in at guard, and then you want to move Tytus and Blake Fisher. You want to juice and Jarrett. You want to bounce. We'll do whatever you want there, but the none of that should have any bearing on whether the Texans go get one proven starting interior offensive lineman. Shouldn't have any bearing on it.
Yeah. No, as people are rolling in, Tytus is a below average O lineman, whether tackle or guard. I will say,
I disagree wholeheartedly with
that. I disagree too. I think he may be below average at guard from what we've seen. Although the second half of the season, I can't tell if Kenyon Green was so bad or Juice struggled so much that he just looked miles better than those guys, and it didn't. I will say, when he came in and left, just absolute flat breakdowns. But I do think what you've said is fair. He has been switched completely to the other side in a completely different position 2 out of the last 3 years mid-season, out of necessity mid-season, and not had a training camp the whole way and rolled through. The only time, Clint, that he had training camp, played the same position that he practiced in training camp the whole way through, Nick Caserio and company felt that he played well enough to earn a contract.
Yeah.
The other years, hey, man, we need you to slide in and play this guard position. So I do think that is a fair point about Tytus Howard, is like, hey, man, go play right tackle. Hey, in a pinch, man, we need you to go play with the other side of the ball and play, left guard. I do think he would be a better left guard if he knew walking into the year that he is going to play left guard, and that's what he's going to do in practice for.
Yeah, look, I don't mind that being, because it's not as easy as I make it out to be to go out and find the right guys, right? So if part of the plan, if the Texans end up landing, in a spot after all the dust settles as we're going into training camp where it's better that Tytus Howard play guard, I'm not gonna be overly concerned, right? However, I think Tytus Howard is a significantly better tackle. I think he's built to be a tackle. I think his athletic ability, his twitch, his whether it's run game or pass game, right? there are really good interior offensive linemen out there that are built the right way. Think Juice Scruggs versus Laramie Tunsil. Think Juice Scruggs versus Tytus Howard and Blake Fisher. That lower center of gravity, that thicker than hell from the ankle to your neck, just more like a road grader, a mass-moving type individual. There's always going to be guys that have the ability to get underneath Tytus Howard's pads easier than you're going to get underneath Juice Scruggs' pads. And that happens often on the interior. Right? Hell, I remember watching Ed Oliver when he was over at U of H. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Ed Oliver's face mask, when he was in an A gap between guard center, and his face mask was less than 6 inches off the ground in his stance. Tytus ain't got a chance. Like, that's tough. Now that's arguably the lowest center of gravity, one of the better, more compact defensive linemen in the game right now. But Tytus Howard has little to no chance against that guy getting underneath his pads. Right? If you're built right, you can weather that storm a little bit more. So I don't like the Texans being in a spot where, hey, right now on March the 3rd, hey, man, Tytus is going to play guard. I don't like that. Now, if the chips fall to where, hey, you got access to some other guys and the best package across the middle is him inside, okay, I can live with it.
Someone texted in, how real do you think it is that Tytus Howard plays guard this year? I definitely think it's very much on the table.
Hell, it's happened every other year since he's been here. I think
that it is, and I don't want to mean to put words in the texter's mouth, but if the thought is that could he be the plan? And I think Tytus Howard, at guard could definitely be the plan because he is making money.
Yeah.
Listen, you gotta also follow. There's somebody who used to work here used to always say that follow the money. There's one thing that you got to look at is he's as Tyler said, he's the second highest paid offensive lineman and right up there top 5 on your team probably as of this moment in money. So you want to keep him on the field. You also don't want to use a second-round draft pick from the previous season to just sit on the bench when you have offensive line problems. So the thought is, how do I get both of those guys on the field? Yeah. Because you just don't want to waste that.
Well, Ron, D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio have to. Enough is enough. They've got to be sitting there looking at each other and going, "Hey, man, look, think like right now." And this just clicked in my head. Like, I think D'Amico and Nick can sit around and talk about the interior defensive line with a couple of guys that are free agents, so they're going to have to sign some guys. You can sit around and talk about the interior defensive line of like, hey, man, do we want to go get veterans, make a big swing? Yeah. Do we want to try to trade for somebody? Do we want to draft and bring in some youth at that position? Like, what do you want to do? Hey, they can sit around and straight-faced have that conversation right there. There is no way in hell you can tell me that D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio can sit there around the table and have this ho-hum, flippant conversation about interior offensive line. You just can't. Man, 12 wins or the divisional round of the AFC Championship to a Super Bowl, or you're just talking about flat-ass giving yourself the best chance to win with a rookie quarterback and protecting that rookie quarterback and doing right by him. There's no way those guys sit around and just have this easy, flippant conversation about fixing the interior offensive line. I just think this has to be an aggressive fix. And again, I know it's not as easy as just going and picking offensive linemen out of a veteran pelt on the wall type offensive lineman out of a bag. I know it's not as easy as that, but they got to be one of the more aggressive teams in the bunch right now.
Yeah, from YouTube and Twitch, new OC, new scheme change. Listen, I'm not going to say that isn't going to help things, but guys, you've watched it over the last couple of years. And hell, we may just disagree on this. I mean, that to me at times was much more than just the fixed thinking that there would be a major change in just new scheme and new OC. And I wonder how new the scheme is actually going to be.
Yeah.
Like with some of this.
Well, you look, here's the thing. Every scheme that you watch on every Sunday from 32 different teams, they get the same protections, guys. It's the same stuff. You slide protect, you man protect, right? How well do you pass off D-tackle, D-end stunts, right? How well do you handle when they load the line of scrimmage and put 8 or 9 guys at the line of scrimmage, whether they blitz or not is irrelevant. how do you handle the pressure? It's all the same, man. There's no new verbiage. There's no new scheme. Everybody slides protects. Everybody man protects. Everybody has something in the scheme where they'll pop an uncovered inside offensive lineman and try to help on the end or kick out a rush end or kick out some pressure. Everybody has those guys. D'Amico, he's never said anything more true than when he was talking about the offensive line, Ron. Was it him or Nick? Nick. One of them said, hey, man, we talk way too much about scheme a lot of the time. Sometimes you just got to get up there and you got to execute and you got to block the guy across from you. I mean, that is ultimately what we're dealing with.
And again, we're not saying the scheme that, like, you have kind of talked about there were some moments where these guys, the protection decisions and how they slid and where they slid.
The protection problem from a scheme perspective, Ron, is like you're holding the football too long. It's not sliding or man. You're holding the football too long, expecting these guys to be all pros up there across the board. It doesn't have anything to do with the slide or the man protect.
And I know in some of the stuff with the tight ends, but it was more than just scheme at times.
No doubt.
The last couple.
The O-line coach what the O-line coach does on a daily basis is going to be will tell if this offense changes or not. Period.